you in a destination where the warmth of the sun invigorates. A lot of people are excited about this.
And we are live.
Hello. Welcome to our Tuesday weekly Facebook Live. This is Kevin O'Leary. I'm Samantha Brown O'Leary. And we are the producers, host extraordinaire, team duo of Places to Love. And every Tuesday we just get on and talk really great things about travel, about our show, and kind of give you a behind the scenes look at what happens when we make a travel show, because a lot goes into it. A lot goes into doing what we do, and we have a lot of fun sharing those stories with you. We had quite a lot of enthusiasm for this week. I think there's a lot of enthusiasm for Florida, especially when it's 32 degrees and it's been raining. It's not even snowing. You know how I feel about snow. Yeah. I love snow, but I love Florida, and people want the white sandy beaches. They don't want the white snow. So people are really excited about this because I think everyone we know has a Florida story, right? Yeah. Especially this part of Florida, Southwest Florida. It's the place where people went as young kids with their grandparents. It's now where they go as grandparents with their grandkids. It's where millennials go, where Gen X, Gen Z, Y, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Everyone loves this part of Florida. And we featured Fort Myers and Sanibel Island. And actually, it's really Lee County. It's this very large county of Florida, which is made up of Fort Myers, the city, which is a really great, interesting city, a lot going on there. And then beaches and islands and big islands and little islands and tiny little snooks of places. So it was really fun to put this show together. A lot of fun. And I love the shirt you're wearing, Kevin. I feel like you're more Florida than I am. Well, I do have my boating, my baton.
I was really trying to get in the Florida zone. It's December here in Brooklyn, New York, and hey, we love Brooklyn, New York, but man, would it be nice to be
the skies are gray.
Sanibel, Florida now.
Yes.
Or Fort Myers.
It would be very nice. But we'll be in that area very soon.
Yeah.
In February, we always head down to Florida. So let's see who's there. Jeff Rumplick is here. We're discussing going back in October, Fort Myers. So Jeff, have you been to Fort Myers in that area? A great part of Florida for Greek food. You're right, Stephanie Cobb. You're absolutely right. We didn't show that, but that was certainly something that we looked at doing, and we'll go through like why we chose things and what we wanted to put together when we put the show together.
Our good friend Colleen's proving my point. It's snowing in San Francisco.
Oh, that's right.
That's crazy.
Oh, that's right.
That's crazy.
The West Coast is just getting nailed. The Pacific Coast, and I gotta tell you, I'm a little jealous. I love being snowbound. I love it, especially when I'm nice and warm and talking about Florida. Both things are going on right now. Let's see. Lisa Waldrop Erickson says, thanks for featuring our favorite place. Can't wait to go back in a month and get a break from the snow. Lisa, where are you from? I'm interested to know why it's your favorite place. Give us your picks. If you have been to Fort Myers and the surrounding beautiful islands and the beaches, tell us where. Tell us your favorite restaurants. We, of course, do whatever we can to showcase an area and really get to the heart and soul of a place. But there's so much to talk about when you're in this area. And again, it's a place where generations of people have returned to, because there's always something new. And there's always sort of that vintage Florida experience of just relaxing, right?
Dawn's watching from Fort Myers, Cape Coral.
Well, there you go. You win, Dawn.
Funny story about Cape Coral. So a good friend of mine, I met at the World Cup in Germany. He's German, lives in Cologne, and he was the host of German Survivor, the TV show, like Jeff Probst, whatever. He was the on-camera host of that show. It only lasted one season in Germany. I think they all got along and worked together, and it was no drama like happens in the U.S. But he goes to Cape Coral, rents the same house for 2 weeks every year. Loves it.
Yeah.
Like that is his favorite thing in the world is to be in Cape Coral, Florida. At their house, they rent a boat, and they have every year he sends me a picture of a fridge full of Budweiser. He's my German friend.
Sure.
But he loves it. Loves it.
I love it. We know a lot of, when you live in Germany and England, you go to Florida. You love Florida. So there's a lot of people from Europe. I wonder if they're there now. I wonder.
They're going soon. No, next month.
They?
Next
Good.
month, yeah.
Nothing will stop them. That's great.
And had her honeymoon in Sanibel.
Nice. There was a few other ones. So Jeff Rumplick says, yes, Sam, I have a Fort Myers timeshare at Lahaina Inn on Estero Island since 1981. Nice.
Wow.
Oh, wonderful. Great. Well, lucky you. I wish we would have known that. Maybe we could have met up there. Let's see. Francesca's on. Hi, Francesca.
Francesca's on already?
Yeah. I just saw her name.
Tam's on as well. Hey, Tam. I saw her.
Tam, all right. Nice to see you, Tam. David Dean is here. We right now are, David Dean and I are editing our, I can't tell you what we're editing because you wanted to keep it all secret, don't you?
Thank you for reminding me.
Okay.
Wow. Keep talking. I got something to do something.
Oh, keep
I'm
talking.
doing something. Keep talking.
I got a vamp.
Distract him.
Okay.
Distract him, Sam.
You know what I wanted to do, because was anyone caught in just the massive flight cancellations this past weekend of Christmas? If you celebrate Christmas, I hope you had a lovely Christmas. We did. We drove to our destination, so we were fine. But that was just such a mess. And I thought I would give you some of my tips on how to handle absolute cancellation messes, because even though I've never encountered what we encountered this past weekend, I did travel a lot during the winter months. And when you travel in the winter months a lot, you always have plan B, C, and D, because you just count that somewhere there's going to be some sort of weather upset that just does a mass cancellation of flights. So even though it's not during COVID, I have absolutely experienced mass cancellation of flights where you're like, how am I going to get home? And the first thing that I always do is when you can, you always want to book a direct flight. You just do. Try to avoid all connections, so it's just one flight you have to worry about. Number two, I have that airlines app on my phone, and I sign up for their alerts. And I can tell you, and then I also have the Flight Aware app, and I can tell you so many times I have gotten an alert about my flight first from Flight Aware before Delta or United. All of a sudden, I've been alerted that there's been a flight cancellation, and now a gate change or something like that. Something's changed with my flight. Flight Aware gets it to me first. So I have those two apps sending me alerts. If I know that there's going to be some sort of cancellation or there's a snowstorm, I never leave and go to the airport until I know my flight still says it's on time or delayed. Even a delay, you have to make it to the airport. But if it's canceled, at least you know that before you made it to the airport. It's such a pain when you're at the airport. Now, if I'm at the airport and all of a sudden my flight has been canceled, there are two things that I do. One, I use Twitter. And so I run to the line to wherever that guest desk, help desk is. So I wait in line, but I am tweeting. I don't get on the phone. And as we've heard, there have been like 2-hour wait times to just speak to a customer rep. So I wouldn't even use their 1-800 number. I would tweet. So all airlines have a way to directly contact them through Twitter. And through Twitter, I just say, here's my flight. I need to rebook. And then it's all done direct message. So you want to make sure that you're not giving someone, like putting your confirmation number out there. So you want to direct message them. And so you have that access. And I'm doing that while I'm waiting in line. And so whoever gets me first, maybe it's someone on customer service who's working the Twitter feed, or if it's the person behind the desk. Another good way to try to get ahead of the 300 to 4,000 people who also want to change their flight at the same time you do is when you're at the airport, look for those kiosks. Those self-check-in kiosks, they're not just right, before you go through security. They're within the airport as well. Seek them out or know where they are so you can go up to them right away and scan your boarding pass, and you do it immediately, and you're going to jump ahead of anyone who's going in line. And then my last piece of advice, and then we'll if anyone wants to chime in with their advice, please do. I always know when I travel in the winter and when there's going to be mass cancellations, you never know. I always know what my next flight I want to be on. If my flight is going to be canceled, I already have it written down. The flight, the number of the flight, where I'm going. So I already have all that information that I can tell. I'm like, please rebook me on this flight. And then you get ahead that way. So it's not to make you get nervous about things, because one thing, I do all of this planning because when I'm in the mode of panic, I can't plan. I can't think. So that's why I have everything planned. And I hate to call it the worst case scenario, but that's what you want to do. You just want to plan. If things don't go the way you want, you have plan A, B, and C. You have those flights. You can easily change them if you're at the self kiosk with your QR code, or if you're just on Twitter, please, I'm looking at this flight 304. I like an aisle. If I could have an aisle seat, that would be great. Boom. And then you're there. So it's just a way to just be thinking of that, because while I hope there aren't going to be as many disruptions as this past weekend, just because so many people were traveling. I mean, think about that. Everyone was traveling. And so we're not going to have this mass amount of people who just want so desperately to see their families. But you will start to see peaks again during winter breaks, President's Day weekend, in March, spring breaks. There's going to be these little peaks. So just plan ahead, connecting flight, sign up for your Delta app or your United app or Southwest app so you're on their alerts, get that secondary alert from FlightAware, and again, have like the second and third flight options that you want to get on should something go wrong. And honestly, that just works no matter what. And if you follow me on Instagram, and I think it posts to Facebook as well, I did a whole story about all those. I always get those Binax Now COVID tests. So because we have been shooting during this time, as soon as these tests became available en masse, like 3 or 4 months ago, I just started buying cases of them because we're always with people, and I always want to test and be safe. And so again, they're not the cheapest things. But I think going forward, as soon as you can get a few, just have them. Just always have at least two tests per person in your household, and that will also give you peace of mind. So that's just kind of, I know Monday morning quarterbacking, right? Is that what they call it? I'm terrible with my sports analogies. I'm a musical theater major from college. But I think, so if anyone else has any great advice of what you do, this is a great place to share that, because we're just all trying to get to where we can enjoy our loved ones and the destinations that we want to get to.
Yeah, well, thanks for that.
Wow.
Marie Harper just asked what the libations for the evening are. This is the Boca Punch, which I actually got off the website from the tourism board. I was Googling around for best cocktails from that part of it, and they actually had a post specifically about that.
That looks gorgeous.
Yeah,
is this mine?
That's yours, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
We'll make another one.
I'm a lucky woman.
Keep talking. Keep talking.
Yeah. How can I keep talking? I got to keep drinking. Wait. Oh, very nice. I tell you, right now, I'm at a tiki bar, right? The steel drums are playing. Someone's playing the steel drums. I can hear the water lapping. The sun's going down. It's right all there in that drink. Very good job. Is anyone else having this drink, sharing it with us? I've lost our whole feed, Kevin, so I can't see anyone.
Sorry.
Yeah, oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yep.
Let's see. The drink looks amazing. It is, Lori. It is. Favorite restaurant. Ro Aiello says her favorite restaurant is Fresh Catch Bistro in Fort Myers Beach. All right. Great advice. Thank you. We always love the restaurants. Stephanie Hall, hi from New Hampshire. Went to Sanibel Captiva 3 weeks ago for the first time. Loved it. Went to the Bubble Room. That's the place that has the really great cakes, right, Francesca? I think Francesca brought us there. Bowdoin Beach, think that was the name. Dolphin Cruise out of South Seas Resort. Going back in February. Wow, that's a quick turnaround. Did you already have that planned, these trips to Fort Myers so close together? Or were you just so enamored that you're like, okay, we got to book our next trip and it's got to be soon? What's so wonderful about us is living in New York City. Flights down to Fort Myers, it's like a shuttle. So we are so lucky.
Very
it's
true.
a 2.5 hour flight, and Fort Myers is a phenomenal airport. It's so easy. It's such a great place to fly in and out of. Heather Snyder says the Edison Ford Winter State is a really neat place to visit in downtown Fort Myers. We agree with you, and we actually showcased it in the episode. Anything else here? What do you see? Mandy Groff, we're just about to drink.
Another vote for the Bubble Room. Yeah, I know. Again, so there were hundreds of comments on the Facebook page, over 1,000 likes for this tonight, and just so the kind of passion people have for the Fort Myers and Sanibel area. And I know personally from my family, my aunt and uncle had the same house in Sanibel every year, their entire growing up years. Every year, the same week, I guess. And that was when I said, hey, we're going to be doing a show there. That was the first thing he said. You got to go to the Bubble Room.
Yeah.
And, we checked it out. It didn't work out for the show, but it was like, that was like the
right.
The instant answer.
Yeah. It's known for its cakes that gets
a bread, I think.
insanely. Oh, maybe I'm thinking about the wrong thing. Okay. Let's see. Stephanie Hall, I went with my BFF 3 weeks ago. Loved it so much that I'm going with my husband and son for school vacation week. That's wonderful. How old is your son? Be interesting to know. There's so many great places to go with children, young and old, and super old like myself. But I think people really love it because, again, that it's a place where you can relax, right? It's a place where there's really nothing expected of you other than just to enjoy a beautiful landscape, a gorgeous beach, beautiful water. And when we go down there, we relax. Like, it's just, for us, it's...
Speaking, to me, there's two kind of famous things that people do when they go to Sanibel, Fort Myers area. One is the seashells, there's a famous thing called the Sanibel Stoop, which is everyone's bent over looking at shells because there's so many shells there. We'll certainly talk about shells in a little bit in the show. But you see a lot of people doing that. And it's like everyone, you can't see our director Sylvia there, but she has her camera out too. Everyone's taking a picture of the same thing, and it's of that. Mm-hmm. The sunsets there are amazing. And then you go from that one to that one, and it's just beautiful stuff there.
Yeah. When we flew down to shoot the episode, it was the first time I really had left our, New York area since the pandemic. And it was the first time I had been on a beach in easily 12 months. And I just was, I wasn't ready for the emotions that I felt just being on that beach and seeing that gorgeous sunset. It really does something to you. Just relaxes everything. And it makes you feel like everything's going to be okay. And so it was just a blessing to be able to go down. It really was. And I think that's why people love it so, because it just recharges the batteries. It gives you that sense of renewal that you desperately need, and it just makes you feel great to be alive. I think it's all. Oh, bubble bread. Okay.
Yeah.
Corby bowl, bubble bread.
Bubble bread.
Gotta look that up.
All right. I got our friend Tam likes the shirt.
How can you not like the shirt?
It's got shells on it.
Shells is beautiful. What's the other thing? Oh, is that a seahorse? What is that?
Yes, it's a seahorse.
Oh, nice. And I like the color. Where'd you
Thanks.
get that?
Macy's. No, sorry, Bloomingdale's.
Okay.
Yeah. It was one of those things. I was there to buy something. I'm like, that shirt's pretty cool.
That's a really
One
cool
day I'll
shirt.
wear that shirt for a very specific reason.
I can't believe it. It's
And
like,
that was a year ago, I
Did you
think.
get, what do you get, a bowl of soup with that? Isn't that what Ronnie Dangerfield says? Oh, I like your shirt. You get a bowl of soup with that?
Something like that. All right. Do you want to get into the show?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. Enough of us talking. Let's see
Let's
more of
get
that beautiful
going.
sunset.
This is our Fort Myers episode.
I'm in a destination where the warmth of the sun invigorates your soul, where the beaches range from family-friendly to primordial. It's a place where an abundance of protected habitats give way to soft adventures, where birdwatching is savored and seashells seriously collected. It's where the knowledge of sustainably growing food is researched, cultivated, then shared with challenged communities all over the world, and where one of the greatest inventors of all time sought respite and inspiration. It's an idea worth having and enjoying. I'm in Fort Myers and the southwest coast of Florida. I'm Samantha Brown, and I've traveled all over this world. And I'm always looking to find the destinations, the experiences, and most importantly, the people who make us feel like we're really a part of a place. That's why I have a love of travel and why these.
And as we get into the sponsor of the show, this is a special one. I should have mentioned early on that Fort Myers and Sanibel is a sponsor of our show.
Mm-hmm.
We're really, really happy to have them.
Absolutely. And then, so at the beginning and end of every one of our episodes, you just get a little taste of, I think, what everyone loves to see, which is the beautiful islands and the seashells and stuff like that.
Yeah. I almost grabbed your drink. That was
Don't touch
scary.
my drink.
That was
Don't
really
touch
close.
it.
I was close to that.
I'll send you a one-way trip to Budapest. Oh, see, look at that.
The waves,
Yeah.
the calming sounds of nature. On the southwest Florida coast, there are wide open beaches and hundreds of islands. Sometimes doing nothing can mean everything. Learn more at fortmyerssanibel.com.
Yeah. And talking about AAA and Rocky Mountaineer. Oh, I don't know how to get to that right now.
AAA has services to help you before, during, and after your trip. Learn
Here?
more at AAA.com/live-TV.
Yeah, that you can join Samantha on the Rocky Mountaineer next year in May, from May 7th to 14th, going from Vancouver to through the Canadian Rockies and ending up in Lake Louise, I think it is.
Yeah, just
Banff area.
monumental landscapes. We
Yeah.
love it.
The state of Florida has so much to discover, and I'll be exploring part of its southwest coast, where the city of Fort Myers provides an enviable gateway to nature, with a collection of beaches, islands, art communities, and keys. And I'm starting my trip by heading immediately out on the water. I'm on a mission of sorts to find a small treasure that has always eluded me, but hope to find today. As we begin what is to be a small journey, the modern world slips into the distance. The landscape becomes more wild, and a more exotic Florida emerges.
One of my favorite islands is Cayo Costa Island. It's a barrier island on the west coast of Florida, 8 miles long, just under 2,400 acres. And when people come out here, they can't believe where they're at. If they didn't know any better, they'd say they were dropped off on a little Caribbean island. But you're right here on the barrier islands of Southwest Florida. I'm Captain Brian Holloway, and I'm a certified Florida master naturalist.
I mean, this is the epitome of the totally unspoiled, pristine island.
Yeah, it's kind of unique here. It has 12 different ecosystems, 377 different plant species on this island.
And right now I'm walking on what we're here for. I mean, there's so much to see, but what we're here for is this. And there's just like mounds of shells. I mean, it's really just like Treasure Island here. Just like, look at this. Oh my gosh. I'm rich.
Actually, there's been documented on this island, Cayo Costa, where we're at, 167 different species of marine mollusk shells.
This has to be one of the greatest pastimes there is, right? Just looking for shells and really zeroing in on the shapes.
Look at, zero in on that one. Look.
Oh, wow, what is that?
That is an alphabet cone.
An alphabet cone.
Yep.
Why do they call it that?
If you look at it, almost like lettering on the sides. It makes a certain letter. Look at this. Here's a very small, it's called a rice shell.
That's a shell.
Yeah, that's a shell. It's a rice shell. They'll make little leis out of this in Hawaii, actually, but we have some rice shells right here in Southwest Florida.
So you have people who are avid shellers, and they
Yeah.
come to you, and they must want.
I love this shot. Just so cool. It's just, I mean, obviously it was early in the morning.
Yeah,
to be
great,
that kind
great
of
job. Great
those
job.
kind of shadows, but just the cool shot.
Specific shells.
Some people do. Some people like certain species. Sometimes there may be like a certain type of shell and that some people like and other people don't, but I'll have people that are just looking for a certain shell, so I'm constantly scouting on the beach.
My dream is to find a sand dollar, a whole sand
whole
dollar.
sand dollar.
And like this is a piece of a sand dollar,
Yep,
right?
it
That's
is.
like 25 cents. Don't want 25 cents.
You want the
I
whole
want the
dollar.
So because there are pieces I could possibly find a sand dollar.
Yep, they're very fragile, so a lot of times they'll break up. Is that the whole sand dollar? It sure is.
I'm seriously gonna cry. Dreams came true today, Brian. Thank you.
Great, you're welcome.
So just to point out, that scene was awesome, and Cayo Costa is a really special place, but you can have those kind of shelling experiences on Sanibel and the kind of more easily accessible parts of the beaches in that part of Florida. It's not just you have to go to that kind of deserted island, right?
No, that's true. You're absolutely right. Where I was staying at my hotel, you just walk out the front door, go on the beach, and there are beautiful shells everywhere. Yeah, that's why you feel so rich. You're just growing up in New England, if you found like one kind of little shell, you were like, and then all of a sudden it's just like, up to your knees in shells. It's a completely amazing experience.
From the wild Florida of Cayo Costa, I make my way to nearby Cabbage Key, a lost-in-time island that fulfills people's need for a slower pace. Listed on the National Register of Historic Places, there's been an inn on this island since 1944, and many of its cabins date back to the 30s. One thing's for certain, the laid-back vacation vibes set back then are still pretty much adhered to today. Rob Wells, who grew up on the island, makes sure of it.
My parents bought Cabbage Key back in 1976, and I was 3 years old at the time. I feel very fortunate to have grown up in this kind of experience.
This is your backyard.
I know.
You know this trail
know.
like nobody.
I know.
How many acres is Cabbage Key?
We're right around 100 acres.
And how much is actually developed?
This development is about 20 acres of the 100,
And just being here, there are no cars, right?
right?
There are no paved roads.
It's only accessible by boat.
It's just blissfully simple.
You don't have to stay on Cabbage Key to feel that bliss. Most people boat in to enjoy lunch at the Old House, a restaurant that's been open for 60 years and is known for its moneyed decor. On any given day, there is approximately $70,000 worth of bills taped all over the restaurant.
How did the whole thing get started?
When a dollar bought you more than it does today,
Yep.
these crusty old salts would say, if I come back here and I don't have any money, I'm gonna write my name on this dollar, I'm gonna put it on the wall. And it was an early form of banking, really, so that they'd have something to buy a drink when they came back years later.
And whatever money falls from the ceiling is given to charity, roughly $15,000 to $20,000 a year. There are any number of reasons why someone would want to spend their winters on the Gulf Coast. Eating stone crabs certainly qualifies, but the city of Fort
That
was a great scene. I
I just
want
to sit there watching, the stone crab thing. Like we could do like one of those live webcams and just have that all day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Little trivia though, I imagine with the hundreds of people watching right now, someone out there is a parrot head. And when we started the research for this show, someone told me that it's not official, but someone told me that the Jimmy Buffett song "Cheeseburger in Paradise" was written about Cabbage Key.
Wow.
Yeah. Any parrot heads out there that can confirm that?
Oh, I mean, that certainly is paradise.
Yeah.
It really is.
Well, a little foreshadowing or past shadowing.
Also
Francesca said
fantastic.
it's fantastic cheeseburgers. So
Yeah.
that kind of backs that up. But yeah, really, really cool stuff.
Fires has the distinction of attracting those who chose its restful location to work on extraordinary things. This beautiful vacation home was built in 1885 for one of the world's greatest inventors, Thomas Alva Edison.
I'm Alexandria Edwards, historian here at Edison Ford Winter Estates, born and raised in the beautiful Fort Myers area. And I first started coming to the estates for summer camp at the age of 10 years old.
Are you surprised as a historian and a guide how much people just want to peep into other people's homes, especially famous people?
Honestly, not really. I mean, there's so much to see inside these homes, so people just really want to, look inside and see all that there is to offer. There's a lot to see from all the different angles.
Yeah, because you
so
want to get
amazing.
clues of people's lives, right? So is the furniture original?
Yeah, so the furniture is all original, and it's amazing how well it's done, throughout all these years.
Are we seeing other inventions of Thomas Edison as we look into his home? Like I get the light bulb, but are there other things that we don't know that he invented that are here?
So on the table, you'll actually see one of his phonographs. That was actually the first device that can record and play back sound. That was one of Edison's favorite inventions that he actually considered his baby.
Now, I would say that is a chandelier. Did he invent that as well?
Since that wasn't made using candle and electrical wire, he really wanted to term it electrolier. However, that was just something that Edison came up with. It didn't really stick. No one else really called it an electrolier besides Edison.
So Thomas Edison didn't want to give any credit to candles anymore. Like, we are done with candles. We are doing light bulbs.
He was all about the electricity. No candles, no kerosene lamps that we used to see before he came here.
Sitting along the Caloosahatchee River, the Edison Estate is also a 20-acre botanical garden with 7,500 plants from 450 different species over 6 continents. And if you're wondering why this is called the Edison and Ford Estates, it's because Henry Ford spent his summers next door. At one time, Ford actually worked for Edison in Detroit. In fact, it was Edison who encouraged Ford to leave that job and pursue his dream of creating a gasoline-powered automobile. And if you think you're guilty of bringing work with you on vacation, wait till you get a load of this.
Wow. This is a very impressive lab. I wasn't expecting this at all. I'm sure it surprises most people who come here.
It really does. I mean, when people look in here, they're just like, wow. Look at all these original materials that since Edison has been here, nothing has been created. These are all the original materials that he experimented with. And it actually is set up to where it looks like he was working, he was taking a break, and then he was going to come back and continue on his research for the day.
On one side, you have what looks to me like a lab, and then on the other side, it looks like a workshop.
Yes. Everything in this laboratory was done in-house. I mean, if he wanted something, he had to build it himself.
There wasn't the tool yet to make what he wanted to do, so he created the tool and the process as well.
Yes.
Was this lab set up for one particular project or many?
He really wanted to find a natural source of rubber here in the United States. So by the time this laboratory was built, he had already done experimentation with the phonograph and the light bulb. So really his goal was to experiment with some different plant samples to extract latex to come up with a source of rubber here.
Wow. So how many plants did they test?
They actually tested over 17,000 different species. Edison's philosophy was that if I can find 1,000 ways it didn't work, I'm just 1,000 ways closer to finding the solution. So that is the methodology that Edison applied throughout this entire project.
The goldenrod plant came close, but in the end, not close enough.
I guess his real legacy isn't all of his inventions, which were incredible on their own, but this idea of persistence and that you never give up, right? The key to success is that you always try just one more time.
You never give up.
That's a really cool place. I mean, just the history of, Edison and Ford together, just that history is amazing.
And we did do a little bit of the shooting at the Ford estate just to kind of bring them together, and then it just and their whole relationship, because Ford hired Edison, right? Edison was an employee of Ford, and then the whole story was that Ford told Edison, "You need to leave my company and do your own thing." It was Ford who really said, "You need to follow your dreams." Wow. And that really cemented their friendship even more. And we had to cut that for time. So, that was one of the things that you learned so much there, not only of what Edison, obviously a great American inventor, but then this friendship that lasted. And Ford was much older than Edison. I
think so.
I'm sorry. It's one Boca Punch and that's it.
It's all right.
But yeah. It's, who do we have? Can you go back to our queue? Can I just, if you go to our queue, we can go to, where is it? There, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Jeannie Dean Richards, my beautiful niece Alex speaking. Your niece is wonderful. And when we're doing these and we're showing these places, we're trying to see who I talk to and who we learn from, right? Who we learn the story through. And when we found out about Alex and just her just the fact that she went to camp there and she loved being a docent, a guide. We loved that connection of being a kid at camp at 10 years old and now taking people around. So we had a wonderful time with her as well. She's a lovely woman.
So at Echo, you are learning and researching how to grow things in the most challenging climates.
What can you do if you don't have any soil, which might be the most difficult place to grow food in the world? And how can we use trash around us or resources that we have to grow the food that we need?
Wow.
I'm spending the day working alongside some of the dedicated workers at a research farm located in Fort Myers that has a global reach. It's called Echo.
So we have 7 different regions of our farm. 5 are tied to climate, and 2 would be the needs of the community, like the urban garden where we are in the community garden.
What eco-region are we in right now?
We're in the tropical highlands.
We're in the mountains.
Yes, the mountain.
Is this the highest point in Fort Myers?
This is the highest point in Fort Myers.
I love it.
Yeah. I'm Noah Coleman, and I'm an intern here at Echo. Echo is an agricultural development organization that focuses on transmitting knowledge to farmers, Peace Corps volunteers, and missionaries all over the world, those that are facing some of the hardest challenges in agriculture today. Farmers in many tropical highland regions, they have altitudes that exceed 2,000-3,000 meters, and there are folks that are trying to grow on marginal land that's constantly facing issues with erosion. And what we're doing here is demonstrating practices that can help mitigate those issues and provide opportunities for folks that are dealing with those conditions to feed their families.
We try to work through community leaders who already know the challenges of their community and can share that information with the people who they serve.
How many countries do you reach out to with this knowledge? How many do you work with?
190 countries around the world.
That's just about all of them.
Almost all of them.
In here in the United States, because we have obviously food deserts too. We have food insecurity. It's a huge issue here as well.
That's right. Echo works with organizations who are feeding their communities too.
Wow. All right, so what are we doing here?
This is a banana stalk. The bananas would have been coming out of the top. This guy is already done with production. And so what we're going to be doing is chopping it down. This part is often used for nothing. People just chop it down and leave it in the field. But you can actually create silage, which is a feed supplement for animals.
So zero waste.
Zero waste.
All right. I feel like I'm playing tennis here, not really.
Basically, pretend you're Venus Williams and you're like going for it.
Got it. All right, here we go. Oh, not even close.
You might need one more whack, but.
All right.
I received my first machete when I was 4 years old, on my 4th birthday.
My parents gave me my first machete when I was 12. So
that's awesome.
And what kind of animals would eat this?
pigs,
We'll
goats?
be feeding it to our pigs for sure. Not only are we providing nutrition and access to information about that nutrition, but we're showing how everyone can get involved in the mission of feeding the hungry all over the world.
No one was hysterical, especially with that machete. When we were up on the tallest hill of Southwest Florida, or the mountain, we were talking, we're just having a conversation, the cameras are rolling, and I just see him kind of look to the side, and he raises his machete and just comes down hard on a snake. Like literally just cut the thing in half.
Wow.
And we're like, he goes, I hate, and in that calm Noah voice went, I hate snakes.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay. We won't put that in the show.
How nervous was the crew on you when you were swinging?
Well, we were like, Noah, all of a sudden, whoa. And this was before we went in to do the silage where we really saw his arm. But he was great. And one of the things we had to, one of the pieces we had to cut out of the scene was they have a tree there. And it's called, I believe, the miracle tree. And its seeds, if they're dropped into water, filter the water. And it can filter like gallons of water through the seeds. And this is how they're bringing more sustainable water sources to places that have trouble with fresh water. But the seeds itself. So it's just finding these incredible miracles that exist in our natural world, in our plant world, and making sure that everyone has that knowledge.
Really cool.
Matlacha is a tiny fishing village known for its one narrow street with art galleries to explore and laid-back fish joints to eat and drink in. Bert's Bar is a favorite, especially with Skip Bowman on the steel drum. It's an island so pint-sized, you have to keep zooming in on a map just to find it. But what brought me here today is the gallery and artwork of a woman who had a lot to do with putting it on the map.
My name is Leoma Lovegrove, and I'm a painter, and I live on Matlacha Island, and this is the heart of it right here, where I love to paint.
I don't like to paint on a straight white canvas.
I am an impressionist painter, and what that means is impressionist doesn't like straight lines. So I spend most of my time when I'm painting breaking up the straight lines. And that's where the expressionism comes in, just by splattering it and just really having fun with it.
That's not going to work.
So we're more about shape and color, and then I just throw paint on it.
What came first? Leoma Lovegrove and her incredible colors, or Matlacha and its incredible colors? Did you come here and this was already a colorful village and you decided
It was a
to
fishing village. I don't even think it was really safe. I mean, there were some wild characters running around this town. But
You're not a wild character
It was a
at
little
all.
rough and tough, so, I painted polka dots and bright colors on my building, and the minute that we embraced tourism here, that's when things started happening. And then I started painting everything.
Yeah.
I have been painting my whole life, so I should be able to paint a painting in less than an hour. If I'm painting live, those are my best paintings because of all the brush strokes. You can kill a painting just by overpainting it. So when I paint live, they're usually 3.5 minutes to 5 minutes, and they're very fresh, and those are my best paintings, and that's when I like to paint the best in front of a crowd.
You really change people's emotional state. As soon as you walk into your gallery, even one of your paintings completely changes someone's mood.
I want my art to always appeal. I never want to offend anybody. Some of the museum artists, you really want to, shock people, but I think I can just shock people with color, Well, that's the impression. I never thought I would be anything else. It was never a question for me. I was born an artist. I really don't care what I paint as long as I'm painting. And I like to paint for the public. When people look at my art, I want them to feel good. But if I had my choice to paint anything, I'd paint you.
She was a joy. I mean, you want to talk about meeting someone who you just desperately needed to know in your life after a pandemic. She just boom, like energy. And she told this great story that we had to cut, but how she discovered she was an artist when she was a very young girl, and her mother, would have white sheets, and she would just start painting the sheets. She would her own bed sheets. She's like, nothing could be white. She hated things being white, and I love that. But if you go back to that scene where I'm doing the scroll thing, this was actually, I wanted to recreate how I found out about Matlacha, because I think you told me, oh, we might do this Matlacha. It's this really cool little island. And so I'm on my phone, Google mapping it. And okay, I don't know where it is. And I see it on the
fishing
map,
village known for
and I
its
start
one narrow...
doing this with my fingers, and I'm even more and more and more. And I think it's, keep going. So it must be...
Before that?
Oh, I guess it goes into after Skip. That was Skip Bowman on the steel drums. But so I just wanted to kind of recreate what it's like to find Matlacha on a map, which is just, you have to keep going with your fingers, and to recreate that, to make that happen, we had to use a green screen for my fingers, and so we used my pants. So you'll see. So when I do it, so that's literally what you're doing when you're looking at a Google Map thing. And so we needed a green screen, and if you see my pants, they're green, and so Luke, our cameraman, said, "Oh, bring your pants in tomorrow, and we'll just shoot your hand." So
that's really funny. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's great.
So that's how.
So this is a live shot on location.
So this is a live shot on location. My fingers, and then we had drone shots, and so with that, they were able to superimpose. I guess is that what you would call
and
it?
That's actually you there with
and
the drone
shot.
shot.
And that's usually me, or that's actually me in the real shot. So that's how we got the Google Map effect on camera. Leoma is just fantastic. She's like the opposite of Bob Ross, right?
Yeah, someone made the comment, Bob Ross, beware.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's funny. I tell you, just last week, someone reached out to us on our website asking for her contact information because they wanted to buy a painting. Yeah, they were like, because they got the shows mixed up. They thought this was on a different show.
I was going to say, how could they not find it?
Well, they were like, oh, the show you did somewhere else.
And okay.
That was what kind of got them the wrong way.
No, she had great stuff. Great stuff.
Wait.
Indoors or on the beach, this is a familiar sound on Sanibel Island. Seashells are so respected and in such abundance that there's even a National Shell Museum here to prove it. It's the only accredited museum in the United States devoted solely to shells and the ingenious little creatures that create them. But I'm enjoying these once mobile homes this way.
All right, so today I'm learning how to make an owl, right? This?
Yes.
Okay.
It's Monday, and I'm at the Sanibel Community House, joining Donna Wilmot, Lynn Butkowitz, and Sarah Jacobson for their weekly meeting of the Shell Crafters.
The owl. And here are all my shells?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, so we'll start with the eyes.
What beach on Sanibel do you find googly eyes? All right, so just like a little dot in the middle?
Just a dot in there. It's the safest way.
The Shell Crafters have been meeting weekly for decades. Every Monday, they create one-of-a-kind pieces of art, including animals, jewelry, and even floral arrangements. And you should see their stash.
All right, what do you like to do, Lynn?
I like to do the animals because they're more forgiving and you don't have to have them symmetrical like you do with the flowers.
The flowers are the hardest?
Right.
A shell crafting class is held every Monday as well, 10 a.m. sharp. It's free, but you pay for supplies. Children are put on the easiest of animals, while adults will try jewelry or even flowers. In the children's category, I was still, struggling.
Are you putting them behind the shell?
Oh, see, because I did mine the way you did yours upside down.
I made a mistake from the second shell. No one told me.
I watched it happen,
Girls.
but you got yours to stand, so I was impressed that you're standing.
This is going to be a very special owl.
A carefree social hour with island residents as you make pretty things with shells, and you found your group.
It's just lovely because you just kind of get lost in thought, and then you get to make art out of what you found. Can I do the reveal? I think I'm done. I think he's adorable. I really do.
Oh, he is.
Oh, good.
That's
great.
Great
down.
job.
Very nice.
Awesome.
Ladies, do you see my first owl?
Yeah.
Nice. Am I
There it is. Yeah.
Welcomed into the shell crafters.
Yes. We'll see you on Monday.
See you next Monday. That's right.
I love doing this scene at the community center, and for me it just kind of, you know, how we do things differently on Places to Love, because I love to go into the community and understand. You've got Sanibel Island, which, as you can see from everyone posting, everyone loves. It's such a tourist destination. But I think it's really important to remember that people live there too. Even year round, people live there, and there is a community that's there. And so coupled with that, and this community center's been around for over 100 years. The shell crafters have been meeting for like 30, so it's been around for a long time. But just this sense of community that does exist. And then the other part that I absolutely loved was it was one of the first times I had just gathered with other people other than my husband and my children. This was last year.
That's a joy. It's a joy.
It's a total joy.
It's a joy.
It's a total joy. You know, this was last November, before vaccine, before, you know, we were knee deep in the pandemic, and it was just lovely talking to people. As you can tell, we were masked. We wanted to protect each other. And this was a scene we actually recreated. We weren't there on a Monday, but we really wanted to show what happened. And so all those women agreed to be there and shooting with us, and they loved it. And one of the stories we had to cut out was that people, what happens is so many people are, you know, looking for their shells, and then what happens is you have all these kids having to put them in their luggage, and people are like, oh no, we can't really put, because it does start to smell. Like, you've got to treat shells before they go into your luggage. We learned that the hard way.
We learned that the very hard way.
And so they'll find like just bags set out in the morning right by the door, people like on their way to the airport dropping off. So they said a lot of times we don't even have to go looking for these shells. They come to us. People understanding that the 400, I mean, our son, whenever we go down to Florida, I mean, it's just like a carry-on size bag full of shells. We're like, you have got to just like edit this down. And so they take a lot of the unwanted shells. So I thought that was fun. So great group of women. Thanks for having me. The green heron is one of the world's few tool-using bird species. They create fishing lures with insects, earthworms, twigs, feathers, and other objects.
I will never pass up award-winning bathrooms, and you'll want to use them.
I love bathrooms. The funny joke about this is they are award-winning bathrooms, and you can see why. And part of it you couldn't see. They have these incredible animals that kind of, it's like you're looking up and you'll see the belly of an alligator. Or
really?
It's amazing. It's
That's cool.
It's even more ornate than we could show. But just to give you an idea, like, as a travel crew shooting travel destinations, we go to the most beautiful places like Sanibel Island, and so we gotta get used to it. But when we were told, the whole crew were told that this bathroom existed and it was like an award-winning bathroom, we got so excited. And let me tell you, it is so hard to get 8 people to take a picture. We are like, I don't want to take a picture with you.
Industry veterans.
Yeah. I don't want to put down my camera. Like, we have work to do. Oh, it's awful. It's awful when we're with people and they're like, hey, can I get a picture of the crew? And like, not really. We're just like, I'm so sorry. It's just, no one wants to take a picture. We're busy. It's just, but when we went to the bathrooms, we had such a great time that this happened. So we were all like, let's take a picture in the bathroom. So there's Sylvia, there's Jules on second can, there's me, Christina, my stylist above me. Oh my gosh, that's Marco, and then Luke, and Tony, who is our guide, who is our ranger. She's there laughing at us all because we absolutely loved it. We laughed so hard. And so when you make a grizzled travel crew just jump for joy, that's it. It's the bathroom. What can I say? We're just like, oh, sign us up. We're totally
you set out to explore the incredible J.N. Ding Darling National Wildlife Refuge. 67% of Sanibel Island is designated as a natural wildlife habitat, and Ding Darling is home to 245 species of birds.
I feel like I'm looking at an impressionistic painting where you just kind of see
splotches, right? But then you start to zero in and things come into view. Like now I'm just seeing that there's possibly 10 birds in those mangroves alone.
That's probably the best way to do it in nature, is to find a spot and then to just stop and look, because there's so much happening around us. I don't think people take enough time to stop and look around. I'm Toni Westland, Refuge Ranger at the JN Ding Darling National Wildlife Refuge.
We love birds, and I think there's, after, of course, COVID, there's been a massive appreciation for birds because it brought so many people, no matter where you were, such joy. When they come here to the refuge, what are the birds that they want to see?
So they want to see the roseate spoonbill because it's bright pink. It gets pinker with age. They get this dark stripe on their shoulder. You know, they got this flat bill. It just looks, you know, like a Dr. Seuss book. It's very magical.
This refuge exists on Sanibel because Ding Darling, a Pulitzer Prize-winning editorial cartoonist, loved the unspoiled beauty of the island so much that he was instrumental in purchasing 6,400 acres of it to keep it safe from development. Today, you can walk, cycle, or drive through the refuge along the 4-mile wildlife road for a nominal fee. And there are so many ways to enjoy some of the most beautiful and thriving bird life you'll ever see.
You know, a lot of people think they're at a national park. This is actually a national wildlife refuge managed by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. There's over 568 of these special places across the United States. We are America's best kept secret.
I think all nature inspires all artists. I have lived in Southwest Florida for nearly 25 years. You know, the sun shines all the time and the colors are always brighter. This is where I'm most inspired.
And this was actually a place that Thomas Edison came to relax and unwind and take a break from his research.
And the sunsets are like some that I've never seen anywhere else.
We know people come for the beaches, which are amazing, but they need to get off the beaten path. There's so much to do and explore and so many different nature adventures to have.
When protected lands are in abundance, and so are the ways to appreciate them. When optimism is painted on using large brush strokes. When a sense of delight can be found perched on trees, wading through water, or covered in sand, that is when we share a love of travel. And that's why Fort Myers and the southwest coast of Florida are places to love.
Yay! Oh, it's nice
beautiful.
to see you. Absolutely nice to be back there again. Toni was great, by the way, and she was such a passionate ranger to be with when we were filming. You saw that family that was kind of gazing over. They were from Boston, and while we were filming, they kind of, you know, we could kind of hear them come in, and there was an alligator there, and they had never seen an alligator. And I could tell when she was talking to me, she kept kind of looking over at the family, and she's like, "Do you mind if I go over there and talk to them?" I'm like, "Yeah, of course, that's it. That's what you do, you know." And so she's like, "Hey guys," and I mean, you could just see her like light up, and that was their first alligator that they had ever seen.
Wow.
And yeah, so she was just, and these are the people we get to meet. But she did bring up something that I had no idea, that these wildlife refuges are everywhere, and they really are. And I think there was another statistic that most of them are like maybe 30-40 miles from urban centers.
Yeah, they need to be near.
They need to be near an urban, like where people are. So they are specifically put where people are. So look at your own state. Look close. They could be right next door, and you just never knew it. They're, now that I see that in New York and New Jersey, they're everywhere surrounding us, and it's like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. So I thought that was a great point.
So I need to make an apology because I forgot, with all the excitement of us starting this and so many awesome things to talk about with Fort Myers and Sanibel, I forgot to make a little announcement that we have a special guest tonight.
We do have a really special guest.
Yeah, and they've been waiting for us, watching the show with us.
Yeah.
Is it okay if I bring them in?
I think so, absolutely.
All right, here they come. It is Captain Brian Holloway.
Hi, Captain Brian Holloway. How are you?
Hey, good. How are you guys doing?
We are wonderful. It is so great to see you. You must be very busy the week between Christmas and New Year's. I would imagine in your parts, a very busy time for you. Tell us what you're up to.
Yeah, a busy time. Yep, was out on the water today. Actually had you know how things happen. Um, Actually had a steering cable little break, so we had kind of the community pull together and got the boat going today, and got out on the water, and we were up at Cayo Costa right actually today.
Now there's I think there's so many barrier islands there. We went to Cayo Costa. Do you go to other barrier islands as well? How many do you travel to and take people to?
Yeah, North Captiva, which is just north of Captiva, and then Cabbage Key, which isn't technically a barrier island, but
Mhm.
Cabbage Key, and some other smaller islands, little rookery islands to do photography.
Nice, nice. And you brought me, but how big a group do you usually bring, or can you bring?
I can take up to six passengers in my boat.
Oh, so it's still a really unique personal experience. That's good to know.
Yeah, it's all very small, and they're all customized trips
Hmm.
on what they'd like to do, whether it's birding or shelling or photography or just nature or history.
Nice, nice. When I was with Brian, to everyone watching right now, and if you have any questions for Brian, we'll be minding the comment section so we can make sure we get them asked. But in that scene, I had told Brian it really was my absolute dream to find a sand dollar since I was very little, and that sand dollar that I found. I really found that. Actually, Brian might have kind of tipped me off to where to look and say, I think if you, and then and you gave me the hint of what I should always look for to find a full sand dollar, which is they're always kind of tucked still underneath the sand, right? And how do you find the sand dollars?
Yeah, a lot of times they're kind of they can be half buried, so you can only see just like a little piece of them.
Hmm.
So a lot of times people walk by and not really see that. So in this case, it was uh, that was the case. It was mostly buried.
Right, right. And so you did let me find it on your own, on my own. And what was really nice is, when we do things, we have to do many takes. We just have to. And so the first time I really found it, I really did tear up. And then we put it kind of under the sand and we showed us walking for another approach. And then I was so overwhelmed that I still cried, even though it was the second time I found it, because it really was a dream of mine. But I think, Kevin, you had a question like, that was my favorite shell. What are your favorite shells to find?
One of my favorite shells to find, I like. It's kind of a rare shell, and it's lion's paw,
Lion's paw.
which is a yeah, and I brought a couple to show.
Ooh.
Get a good view of this.
Yeah,
Wow.
nice, nice.
They also live in 60 to 80 feet of water,
Oh,
but they're kind of a treasured shell to find.
So you say
It's
that
one of my favorites.
there's 60 to, just to understand that 60 to 80 feet of water, but yet the Gulf is so shallow. How does it get from 80 feet of water up to on the beach?
Well, that's why they're actually such a treasure because they don't roll up that often. So for them to come up to the beach is something you don't find every day. I mean, I have clients that have looked for 30 years for that shell.
wow.
So
Wow.
it's always like when you see that on the beach, it's like a little jolt. You're like, oh wow, wow, wow. Even a piece of one can do
Mm-hmm.
that. So
Wow.
it's they don't come up that often.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And we were talking about this, and I don't think it made the show because there's so much to get in. Is there a season for the shells in that area in Fort Myers and Sanibel Island? Do you find that there are times of the year where there are more shells and less shells? When do people usually come in that are serious? What do you call it? Shellers? What would you call it?
Shellistas?
Shellistas.
All the above. Yeah, no, the shellers. You get some shellers, hardcore shellers, all different varieties of shellers. But it depends on the wind. The wind pretty much dictates everything. So in the wintertime, we will get cold fronts, so stronger winds, and that will bring up more shells. During the tropical season, hurricane season, you get a storm or something like that.
Ah.
It'll also bring some up. But a lot of times in the wintertime, we'll get a certain variety of shell. A good example of that is like the angel wing shell, which is it's a bivalve shell, and they're light, and we'll see those more in the wintertime. So some shells can be seasonal. Like we had some strong winds about 10 days ago that brought in a whole bunch of great shells that are still up there.
Wow. So wind is a really important condition for great shells. What else? Because Fort Myers and Sanibel, Captiva, they're among the best locations for shells in the world. I think it's like Australia and maybe places in South Africa and then Florida. So what are the other conditions that make it so?
Low tide can play a big factor. But again, wind is kind of one of the bigger ones. But low tide, you have more of the beach exposed.
Okay.
And so on a full moon, low tide, we just had some really extreme tides on this last full moon. We had a full moon and we had some north wind. So when the wind's out of the north, it pushes that tide even lower. So like, for example, when I left the dock, I probably had a foot of water underneath my boat. Very, very low.
Very low. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Brian, you mentioned in the show that you're a Florida certified naturalist. Is that what is it called?
Yeah, Florida Master Naturalist. And
What is
that's
that?
a program? It's a program that is done through the University of Florida, and you have to complete 3 modules for your Florida Master Naturalists, and about 8 weeks long. Different modules. You do wetlands, uplands, and coastal, and you have to complete them. Do different projects. And then you can earn your Florida Master Naturalist certificate. So something I started, I think, back in probably pre-Hurricane Charlie. So it was probably 2002. So
Wow.
that was nice to complete.
Where are you from? You're not from Florida originally.
I'm originally from Nebraska. I grew up in a small town in Nebraska, Grant, Nebraska, and small farming ranching community. And I always liked the water. We had a big lake close by, and I got certified to scuba dive when I was 12, and read Jacques Cousteau and just Islands magazine when I was in high school. And then I got to college, and then I'd be in the library, supposed to be studying something, and I'd be looking up Captain Cook or whatever. So I've always liked islands.
Wow. So I mean, you kind of knew what you wanted to be as a 12-year-old, as a young kid.
Well, I knew I wanted to be on an island and be on the water. I didn't know exactly how. So
Oh, that was well. Now we know, because what you do is great, and I think it's really lovely. The personal experience that you give, which I think everyone is really looking for as well, because you wouldn't want to land in Cayo Costa with a group of 30, right? You really do want to feel like you're seeing it for the first time. It is very primordial, and it's just such a special place in the world. And it's something, I remember talking to you, it's a place you get to go to literally every single day, and yet you're still astounded by it. And that really comes through. It came through in our show and in being with you as well. Just kind of understanding your passion and how you then allow other people to feel it for themselves, and you give them that space to enjoy those places. I never felt like, okay, now we're going here, now we're going, let's come over here, follow me, hold up the umbrella. You really have a very natural experience on that really special island.
I'm thankful every day. I mean, I left Cayo Costa today about 3:00, and I'll be there tomorrow at 8:30.
Who wants to join? Raise your hand if you want to join.
I didn't go last time. My turn.
Yeah, your turn.
Yeah.
But it never gets old. And even where we filmed, there's probably 2 foot of sand over that whole area. Well, I was watching this and I saw a lot of that area, and I was looking at it and I was just going, wow, that's a lot different now. And probably 2.5 feet over a lot of those driftwood and everything like that. So it changes constantly. And all those trees I've kind of sounds crazy, but I've got to know over all these years.
Mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm.
you see them, it may be 10 years, and then all of a sudden you'll see more of the same tree I saw the previous 10 years.
And
So
talk about those trees. They're standing upright, but they seem like they're deceased. What are they?
yeah, it's a lot of those where we were black mangroves, and that end of the island has a lot of those dead, driftwoody trees, and very, in the summertime when we get our big clouds, cumulus nimulus, it's beautiful, and so it changes all the time, but a lot of black mangroves and some red mangroves, and the really gnarly ones, I think we saw some of those, are buttonwood.
Mm-hmm. And when we were doing the scene together, Brian and I, as we were passing through, I did make a comment about, driftwood. It's like, you're seeing driftwood, but standing up. And as the cameras cut, Brian took me aside and he said, I'm just kind of nervous about talking about it being driftwood because there are people who come onto the island and cut them down. And even just kind of saying driftwood, there's this idea that it's collectible or it can be taken off the island. And so I was really touched by that you were very concerned, and we didn't put it into the show, and I kind of cut that comment out. And but you're always a naturalist, right? You're always, even though you're bringing people to those barrier islands, you're really an advocate for nature first. That was my experience with you, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah, I mean, you protect the things that you love. Mm-hmm. So, not taking the driftwood then there's nothing, it's like, it's a beautiful landscape. Mm-hmm. So that doesn't even really enter my mind.
Right. But there are plenty of shells, and those are for the taken, right? You can take
shells. The shells.
You can shovel the shells.
Are.
Yeah, actually, someone asked a question. It'll take me a while to find that, but just to confirm that you are allowed to take the shells off the beach and take them away under what conditions?
Any shell that's not living. In Lee County, where we're at, you can't take any live shells.
Okay, so as long as there's not a critter in there,
right? Marine mollusk, you can't take those. Yeah, correct.
Our friend Cindy Scaglione has a question for you, and it says, "What is the most interesting cruise you've taken someone on?"
Oh, most interesting cruise you've taken someone on. Interesting cruise. All cruises are different.
If you want to stew on that, we got another question for you. I know that we haven't really talked about fishing, but someone asked, Jean, what's your favorite fish to catch? You're on boats a lot. Do you fish?
I don't really do a lot of fishing, so I'm not a fishing guide. I used to fly fish, so because I enjoy just the motion of the accuracy of throwing a fly rod. But any fish is a good fish to catch. Yes.
Trisha Pankonen said she had a great cruise with you. She loved her tour back in August.
Oh, nice. Oh, great.
Yes,
yeah, right.
Trisha. Yeah, very cool. Nice. That was a great cruise. Great cruise. We had a couple cruises, her and her husband, Jeremy. And it was great.
I think one thing that really struck me in terms of like great cruise experiences that you have, and you call them clients because you have a lot of returning customers who again are avid shellers who are always calling you saying, okay, and you're kind of like one of those antique dealers, right? You're always looking for and finding and talking to your people about what's coming in, what you've seen, because there are people who, it's kind of like, bird watching. They've seen all these birds, but they still have, one or two shells that they still haven't collected. And so you are you have relationships with people year after year after year. And I would imagine that makes it really interesting, is understanding people's lives. They kind of ebb and flow just like the tides. They come into your life and come out and come back in as you look for shells. So it's such an interesting kind of through line to understand and know people that you have. It's very unique.
Yeah, it is, and it's kind of crazy. But yeah, I have clients that want to look for certain species. Some that, I know I'm going to have them in a couple days. So when I'm out on the beach, I'm constantly looking for that type of shell or that little pocket that this will be good because they like this kind of shell, or they really like these small shells. And this was a great little. So every day is a new day, and I get to go out there and see it.
Nice.
That's great. Well, Brian, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, Brian,
Yeah.
such a joy to see you. You brought a little bit of Florida into all of our lives, and we appreciate that. Most of us, 98% of us, are like in cold climates right now.
We got kind of cool. We both got cool shirts on.
Yes, you do. Yes, you
Yeah,
do.
I like the shirt. I like that. I was trying to ID
like your
that
shirt.
shell. It almost looked like a rare shell.
That's great.
I feel like I'm being people are like really looking at me like I don't know if I'm comfortable with that. That's great. All right, Brian. Well, again, thanks for joining us. You really helped make this episode great, and I think that the nature of that part of Southwest Florida is just staggering. That everyone goes to the beach, and the beaches are awesome there, but just there's such a level of extra nature there that I think we got to see through with your experience, and I really appreciate your time with that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I love it. I'm thankful I get to do what I do.
Yeah. Have a great day tomorrow. Thanks, Brian.
You too. Thank you. Thank you very much.
It was great having him on.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. It was really, because he just has that calmness about him, when we were out, because it's interesting when we go out with him, he's not only kind of in charge and of us, but there's 8 crew members. So he was talking the entire time with our cameraman and our director about like the position of the boat and where they should come in. So he was not only a captain, but he was co-directing a lot of the scenes to make sure that we could be positioned, our cameras could be positioned in a good place to get what he was talking about. And we had a whole scene where we were leaving and we were heading out into the water. Well, you see a little bit of it.
Yeah, there's a
But
drone shot.
We also did some, there were some really neat homes along the way that, Ding Darling's original home we saw.
Oh, wow.
And just like old cabins that people have no access to, like electricity. And it's really fascinating when you go past, I guess that would be parts of Captiva. I don't know. I forget. But they, they're just unfortunately cut for time. But so he was much more than just sort of my on-camera captain kind of showing the shells. He was making sure that the entire crew knew what they were doing. So true captain, just in charge.
And just I found this picture in our kind of list of things is just what it looks like when we film an episode. That's Luke, Damien, and Sylvia there being kind of.
Yep, that was us pulling into Cabbage Key. So Luke was getting that.
That's great.
Was getting that shot. Yeah.
Funny little tidbit of information about Luke. So our standard camera, our director of photography forever is Brian Miller, and he wasn't available for this shoot. So Luke, who happens to live literally a block away from us, had worked with Sylvia before, and we were really happy to have him be our director of photography for this episode. But the previous shoot he did a film called Borat, where he was the camera, like the director of photography for Borat. That was that whole thing with Giuliani getting, it was just. And then he did our show. Yeah. Well, probably a lot calmer, less danger involved.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Nothing undercover.
Yeah. Wait, I didn't realize. I just realized I'm not. Sorry about that. We're back. I have 2 things.
Oh, okay.
I have 2 things. One, and we kind of, I was a little discombobulated when we started. I had all these notes that I didn't get a chance to write down. But we are getting very excited towards the start of our 5th season that'll start airing in different regions, starting really a week from tonight, because I got the list of all the different areas that it will be airing, and majority of the places in the country see our show on the weekend, but there are some places that are airing on Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday and Friday. So I thought it would be fun to show the promo, the 30-second promo of season 5 for the first time.
I haven't even seen this.
You probably should have. Sorry about that. So we will show that here. And here we go. Go.
I'm Samantha Brown. For 20 years, I've been traveling the world. And the biggest lesson I've learned is that every destination, from a big city to a small village, has a soul. And there is an effort that goes into cultivating that soul, and that effort comes from the people. This is why I have a love of travel, and why these are my places to love.
I know it's short. It's only 30 seconds, but it's exciting. We're getting there.
I know, that is awesome.
Season 5.
I'm very excited. It's such a great season. I mean, we're still editing it now, but it's really oh gosh, it's a good one.
And a little that what you're looking at right there is the art installation just south of Louisville in the Bernheim Forest that we were lucky to be there when it was filmed. I don't know if that'll be there forever, but it certainly will be there for a while. But yeah, so that's our quick 30 seconds. Again, it's super quick. Sorry about that. But again, the new season, which our first episode, which we will air next week, the promo, the similar kind of 30-second deal for that is Asheville, North Carolina. We're really excited about that. Our first episode of season 5. Mm-hmm. But something else, and again, I should have teased this out earlier, and I apologize.
You're really bad with the tease.
I'm so bad with the tease.
My gosh, what happened?
I need time to get the tease ready, and I didn't have time.
Yeah.
Is that next week we will have a very special guest. And that is not saying that Brian wasn't a special guest, but I would say the PBS audience here knows Brian, of course, because he was an awesome person on Samantha Brown's Places to Love. Mm-hmm. But we have
the Bob Ross of travel.
Probably the biggest superstar of travel on PBS that's ever known.
Samantha Brown?
The second largest superhero of travel will be our special guest next week, and that is Mr. Rick Steves. Yeah.
I'm very excited.
Rick Steves.
Gosh.
Yeah. The OG of travel. We're going to, my plan,
lovely man.
My plan is that I am going to ask him a million questions about Asheville because he's known for Europe and make him uncomfortable. Oh. Like, hey, what's your favorite Indian restaurant in Asheville, Rick? I know you got many restaurants you love in Asheville, Rick. What do you think, Rick?
Yeah.
Well, you've only been to Asheville twice, Rick?
When did the Romans found Asheville?
Yeah.
That's what I want to know.
Why do they call it Asheville, Rick?
Yeah, exactly.
We have all kinds of questions about Asheville for Rick.
Were there Druids here?
Yeah.
Just like, you know what we should do? We should do like travel show mashups. You know, where we just like we're in one place and we're looking for something else. Like where's Easter Island? Like where are the and we're constantly looking for things like anyway.
Yeah.
I love having fun with Rick because his sense of humor is fantastic. We both take life with a grain of salt and just have a lot of fun. And we're also both of us, we're experts, but we're not. It's not about knowing everything. It's about always connecting with people, and that's how Rick is.
I think for me, the two of you both have a huge heart when it comes to travel, but just in different ways.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah,
and Rick is a really special guy, and he's we're really happy to have him. And then Samantha will be on his show the following week. So I think that's the Monday after next Tuesday. So, do the math. It's like the 11th, I think. Mm-hmm. So we're excited about that as well. I'm not invited to that one, just so you know. I know that there's going to be a million comments about that. But
if he sees your shirt, you might have you on.
Yeah. But yeah, so Rick Steves, our special guest next week. And next week, our episode is about our highlight show about Samantha's tips for travel. Mm-hmm. And I tell you, we were supposed to do an episode last year that we had to cancel because COVID just got out of control, that particular part of America. And we were very careful about where we went and making sure everyone was safe. And when we were in Lee County, and it was fine then. because we're a big country, and COVID's, I was surprised today that there's so much stories right now about how COVID's so terrible in America, but there's places actually in America that have dropped the last week, and there's absolutely places that have skyrocketed. I'm not diminishing that, but it's it's a big place. There's a lot of different stories. So we were in Fort Myers, and things were fine there when we filmed. But the other place we went to we canceled it, so we had an extra episode we had to film, and so Samantha was like, well, I have all these great tips and things I talk about when I do speaking engagements. Why don't we build a show around that? And it's one of the best shows we've ever done, I think.
Wow, thank you very much. Oh, I appreciate that.
Yeah, because it's really your voice, and
yep. It's kind of what I've learned. It's not your standard typical travel tips. I've always been uncomfortable giving people travel tips because I feel like I'm always learning myself, and there's no foolproof way to have a perfect travel experience. And I also feel like that shouldn't be your goal. Perfection should never be a goal in travel. It should be to go with the flow and just feel it out. And so it kind of speaks to just how my approach to travel and this approach that we put into the show that you maybe see or don't see, but sort of the methodology behind it.
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you.
Yeah. So I look forward to that next Tuesday. And just a few questions we had before we kind of close things down. Corby asked when the episode we just watched aired, and this aired like the end of April this year, so about 8 months ago. And we filmed it in like the week before Thanksgiving, I think.
Yeah.
Last year. So it's been we filmed it a little over a year ago, and it aired 8 months ago. And then, so that's that. Stacey Hawkins, who is in the TV biz, I forget, she's a producer, I think, asked about videographers, drone videographers. And typically our second camera person is our drone operator, and they do great shots. It's happened a few times where, and this honestly every year gets harder for this because they have an FAA license to be a drone. They're not just anyone can buy a drone, but legally there's rules about how you and when you can use it. But if you are doing it commercially, which we are because we're filming this for a business, you need a license to do that, and they have those licenses. But when we were in New Zealand, they don't recognize the US FAA license, and so we did hire a local drone person for a few days, not the whole shoot, but just when we knew we had epic drone days, we hired them for that. Mm-hmm. And then I know we were in Canada and we didn't do drone. We just couldn't do it because you had to hire. I remember specifically in Vancouver, because Vancouver is a working, the harbor front there is just full of float planes, seaplanes flying in and out on the water. Yeah, it makes flying a drone around there even more complex because there's just planes everywhere, little planes. And so you have to have a license, a Canadian license. And so for that reason, we didn't fly a drone. It was just difficult.
There's a trick that a lot of camera crews do to make it look like a drone when you can't fly a drone. And if you just simply like duct tape a GoPro to the end of a boom pole or like a broom pole, and then you'll hold it like this and you just kind of lift it up in the air, it gives you the drone effect. I've seen it. Effect. Yeah. It's actually really really good.
Cool.
Just a little tip there.
I like that.
Any other questions? We've got kids coming up.
Uh-oh.
I think I hear kids.
Well, I enjoyed this, that while I was making cocktails, I got the all caps, and I've gotten those before from Mr. David Dean, by the way. But immediately after, my best friend Lois Child said she loves that sound. So David, I think I'm going Lois's idea there.
Yeah. And that one, put that one. Thank you, Tony Gerber.
Thanks, Toby.
I said it the other way around. Ford worked for Edison, and Edison told him to leave to build his gas-powered car. I'm like Willy Wonka. It's like, stop that, reverse it. Because as I was saying that, I'm like, well, wait a minute. Edison couldn't have been younger than Ford. That doesn't make any sense. So thank you.
Because the earlier cars were mostly electric. It was only because of Ford that the gas thing became a thing. Because the earlier,
Well, there you go.
All right. Great question by Astronomical One here. How do we determine what stays and what goes? That is the hardest part of what we do.
And yeah, we're going through it right now, and it's awful. We'll see. The first cut comes in at 45 minutes. The show is 25 minutes.
It's actually less than that because that includes credits and stuff. So it's like 22 minutes. Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
No, it's worse.
Oh,
it's worse.
It's awful. It's awful.
Yeah.
And so then we just have to start truncating. Then we just really. Oh gosh, yeah, it's hard, and sometimes it's a lot of times like we don't need that, but then we just start, and then we have to, like right now in a few of the episodes, David Dean and I were just at that point where it's like, I really love that, but I will say I usually cut my questions. I usually cut me before I cut the person that I'm talking to. I let them have the stage, so I get the hook for me before it's anything that they say, because I don't know. It just kills me sometimes.
Yeah, and then the seconds for B-roll, it really depends. I mean, we try to get as much B-roll as we can, and then it's given to the editor for their use as a library in a way. They can just kind of pick things out, and some B-roll is really specific to the scene. Mm-hmm. They're talking about something, so they're shooting that B-roll so they can cut to that particular thing while they're talking about it. And sometimes it's just general shots on the street about certain things about nothing specific at all. It's just you need to go from one scene to the other, so we get a basic shot of the street of that town, and that's just general B-roll. Cheryl, Sanibel Island's their favorite on the planet.
Wow.
Yeah. No, people really.
Yeah, no, it's a special place.
Yeah.
It really is, and it's really lovely year round. I think right now it's really busy, but we were there in November and. It was just perfect, before the crowds come. I think I would imagine January and February are their high season, right?
Yeah.
Yes. But
up until Easter, I think is a typical.
Yeah. But but just go, because it's just really lovely year round.
David Yates.
New eaglet.
I have to say, I had this on one of my monitors today for about 4 hours. The live feed of these eagles. It's a bald eagle there was. It's amazing how awesome these cameras are, because they had one little eaglet you couldn't really see because it was underneath the mother, I guess, but then they had an egg that had a little tiny hole cut out of it, and you could just see the beak, and it was like the entire screen was this little tiny part of the egg and you could just see the little beak in there moving around. But yeah,
it's pretty amazing.
It's awesome.
That really is amazing.
All right.
Vera Tucker, I love all your comments. Please keep doing these FB Live events as much as possible. It's so interesting to learn the behind-the-scenes information. Thank you. And you're here every Tuesday. We really appreciate that, and we love to share with you, because it's a whole other world behind the scenes, and sometimes it's a funny world. So we love to show you. I wish we had the picture of us with Captain Brian when we all landed on Cayo Costa, the entire crew. We were still in water, and we all had to lift all the equipment over our heads in the water. There's probably like $100,000 worth of equipment. You're just like, please. But it's this really, we like formed this chain of just slowly bringing all of our equipment off the boat. Across the water, you're only but we were probably up to above the knees, and onto the beach, and
the worst time to trip over a lion's paw shell. Hey, but guess what? I tripped on. Hey, high five. No. Okay.
And on that note,
all right, everyone. So we'll see you next Tuesday at 9 o'clock Eastern,
yes.
And we'll be again talking about our awesome Samantha's tips on travel. And with our very special guest. And I think last time we had Rick on, he was on with the whole time, because he's Rick Steves.
Yeah.
He is responsible for travel on PBS. I mean,
he is, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. All right.
All right.
Thank you. See you next week.
Thanks, everyone. And Brian's still on.